It was a foregone conclusion that the results to the Italian election would be messy, and messy they are. Is there anything remarkable at play here? Well, I guess there is, but what this means in terms of who will govern remains unclear. The Italian election has been one characterized by populist platitudes and one-upmanship. Whatever there is to be promised has been promised with little reference to what is actually possible. Indeed, when it's virtually impossible for any single party to win a majority, this sort of idealist posturing comes without a price. In a system of proportional representation, and when bloated and awkward coalitions are the norm, it's all too easy to look to your left and right and casually explain, well, we could have done this, but our coalition partners wouldn't have let us. Certainly, this is not a novel nor unique phenomenon to Italy alone. Perhaps it's a problem with proportional representation itself, however, that is the subject of a different video coming up. Steve Bannon weighed in on these elections, remarking that Italy was at the vanguard of a populist revolution sweeping Europe, and that this election was crucial for the global populist movement. But what does this even mean? Italian politics has been synonymous with populism since the initial rise of Berlusconi, and that was back in 1994. Actually, to be honest, Berlusconi has done nothing but reiterate his initial platform time and time again, and, funnily enough, has done so with a degree of success. Not this time, though. The Lega has done an astounding job of tearing the right-wing mantle from Berlusconi and basically damning him to the political periphery. Any hopes Berlusconi had of once again leading Italy, either via proxy or waiting until 2019 to take the reins himself, have been well and truly dashed. Is this a populist uprising? Well, as I have stated prior, Berlusconi was a populist anyway, and the Lega aren't a novel or peripheral force in Italian politics, so this is hardly an insurgency. But even having said that, where were right-wing voters supposed to turn? Berlusconi has been thoroughly discredited, not only through long stints in government and premiership, but also through court cases and controversy. This isn't to say Salvini's vote share can be solely credited to the dire state of the right, but it certainly played its due part. So where does this leave Salvini? The right-wing coalition doesn't seem to have garnered enough votes to form a majority, which means the coalition members will likely wander elsewhere to form partnerships and enter government. Maybe. Now, as is often the case, governmental participation can kill populists swiftly, especially those that promise the world without the means to deliver. Moreover, who would Salvini's options for coalition even be? That also remains unclear. The Five Star Movement predictably came out of the elections as the single biggest party in Italy. But again, what this means for the country is uncertain. That the right-wing coalition didn't take enough votes to enter government certainly strengthens their hand, but we can rest assured that the other parties will likely bend in any way they can to keep them from government. Five Star had already alluded to their aspirations of forming a government alone by releasing a proposed cabinet team prior to the vote. Now, that's likely not going to be a possibility, but such posturing will surely be an obstacle to finding potential partners. Indeed, it's probably best for them that they don't enter government anyway. An entire image predicated on being anti-establishment is best destroyed by becoming part and parcel of it. In addition, a coalition with an establishment party is a betrayal of their very principles. Once in government and unable to fulfill promises thanks to systemic hurdles and boisterous and partisan colleagues, their allure will take a beating. A central problem for the party is their constituency also. Five Star support is broad, which best explains their lack of a clear party platform apart from anti-corruption. It's all very well being necessarily vague out of government, but within it though, it's just not so viable. Their broad constituency also stunts coalition options. Theoretically, the party could align with the also anti-establishment Lega, and that would be an interesting experiment indeed. Then again, many Five Star supporters, largely southern, would be aghast at such a formation. In short, again, it's a mess, and one without resolution. Again, trying to situate this into some broader European framework with reference to other countries is incredibly difficult. Cinque Stelle is a uniquely Italian phenomena, and grew thanks to very particular facets of Italian politics. There aren't any equivalents to the Five Star movement in Europe. Sure, Podemos in Spain have utilised technology in similar ways, but their almost Latin American socialist populism is very different from Five Star, who have never delved into such political partisanship. The party is certainly populist, but if we remember that populism is a political style, and not a substance, then it becomes harder to draw continental equivalences. Perhaps we can look at the growth of Euroscepticism. However, the Euroscepticism in Italy is mostly of the soft variety. This is an important distinction. Hard Euroscepticism is an out-and-out rejection of the European Union out of principle. Parties that embody this are UKIP in the UK or Geert Wilders' PVV in the Netherlands. Soft Euroscepticism, on the other hand, isn't the rejection of the European Union unconditionally, but is instead characterised by criticism of the way it functions and a desire for reform. Both the Lega, despite some hard-hitting rhetoric from Salvini, and the Five-Star Movement fit this mould rather than the former. So anyone hoping for a pledge to leave the Euro, or even the Eurozone, will likely be disappointed with this election. Now, if we want to situate the Italian elections within a broader European framework, then perhaps the best way to do so is to comment upon what happens to the left. Of course, there are endogenous reasons for the collapse of the PD. Renzi is notoriously unpopular and has only just left government. However, it's impossible to ignore the similar trend throughout Europe. The Dutch Labour Party collapsed entirely in the 2017 elections. The same can be said of the Socialist Party in France, the SPO in Austria, the SPD in Germany, the Social Democratic Party in the Czech Republic. In short, these last 2 years of elections have been particularly unkind to social democratic politics. This is due to a number of reasons. One being the role of technological unemployment and the working classes thus being relegated to service sectors, lacking the sense of community and the stable employment to aid political mobilization and a class-based identity. Moreover, the increased diversification of cultures in any one given nation precludes class-based politics as fault lines become drawn on the basis of identity and culture rather than economic status. Oddly enough, radical right populist parties throughout Europe have been drawing most support from disaffected traditional Labour Party voters than their conservative counterparts. Italy is no different. So, looking at the results, what on earth is going to transpire? It's hard to tell at this point. Five Star are the biggest party by a considerable degree, followed by the PD, then the Lega. However, the right-wing coalition are the biggest bloc, and thus President Mattarella will likely go to Salvini first in order to form a government. Problem with that is Mattarella is looking for stability, and Salvini will likely not be the best option in that respect. Plus, who could Salvini look to? Perhaps the PD could enter a pact under the auspices of attempting to temper Salvini's wilder side, but that's a recipe for collapse and one that Mattarella would want to avoid. Playing a bit of fantasy politics here, as someone who has an unhealthy obsession with studying populism, a Lega Five-Star coalition is a fascinating scenario, of course. Honestly though, it's incredibly far-fetched, and I see little chance of this, but to me it does make a sort of meandering sense from a purely utilitarian perspective. The Five-Star could take up the south and centre, the Lega could take responsibility for the north. Of course it would be politically counterproductive for both. It would undermine the Lega's attempt to become a national, not regional party, and it would likely carve Five-Star supporters down the middle on the subject of immigration. Still, it's an interesting thought experiment. Maybe the Five-Star could enter government with the support of the PD. Maybe this is the best option for the centre-left. Let the anti-establishment populists enter government, hedge your bets that they'll discredit themselves, and then campaign on the promise of picking up the pieces next term. Honestly, I've got no idea what will happen. We're basically in the same position as we were prior to the elections, and honestly, I have yet to meet an Italian happy with the result. So, the take-home message? Five-Star did as well as predicted, but not well enough to gain a majority. Berlusconi did worse than predicted. Salvini did better than predicted and now claims ownership of the Italian right, a bloc that does not have a majority. The left did as bad as predicted, the parliament is hung, and nothing has been resolved. So, all in all, it's Italian politics as usual. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you liked the video, don't forget to click like, and please do subscribe if you haven't already. If you didn't, click dislike, leave a comment, tell me where I went wrong. As always, huge thank you to all of my patrons. It's thanks to you guys that these videos are regular. As always, if it's within your means to do so, and you like what I do, then please consider becoming a patron yourself. Thanks a lot again for watching, and until next time.